vibe coding. It has hit a nerve, and a lot of people, over 250,000 people, are engaging with it. Quite a few are a little angry. I wanted to talk about what vibe coding is. I wanted to clear up some misconceptions. I want to help people understand why this is a big deal, even if you are not a coder. I want to show you why paying attention to what vibe coding is probably going to be very useful. Actually, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have lots of ideas, and vibe coding is extremely exciting. So I've put together a few resources for you, and we're going to be talking about the topic and how you get involved in it as well, and clearing up a few issues. Now, this is a very loaded subject, so I'm expecting this video to upset some people. I'm going to talk about why, if you are a programmer, it is perfectly reasonable to hate vibe coding. I put together a presentation about vibe coding. I'm going to talk about what it is, how you can get started, and useful ways to think about it. I want to start though with Alberta Tech. Make sure you're following them over on social media, and they have a Substack called Computers Were a Mistake. Very good read. So Alberta Tech is a coder, is a programmer. And they start here. Over the past 6 months, I've made 21 videos making fun of vibe coders. It's easy pickings, from your product manager who vibe coded an app but has no idea what a test is, to some guy on your LinkedIn feed who wants you to check out his website on localhost 3000. If you aren't a developer yourself, you might not understand why so many people enjoy these jokes, or why I keep bothering to make them in the first place. So let me explain. Now, this is one of the best explanations I've ever heard, so I'm going to read this in full. Imagine you have been training your entire life to be a violinist. Every day you show up to rehearsal with a group of people who had to pass 5 rounds of interviews, auditions, join the orchestra. Then one day, 700 people walk in off the street into your rehearsal and claim that they are violinists. They break instruments, they sound horrible, they clutter up your Twitter feed with recordings of their work. You and your real violinist friends laugh and trade stories about how these people don't know the difference between a tailpiece and a fingerboard. Then something terrifying happens. You hear a beautiful tune and find a violinist playing it. You think that shouldn't be possible without a foundational music education. That shouldn't be possible when they're not even holding a violin the right way. You listen a while longer until they falter, lose the melody. You turn back to your real violinist friends and you laugh at how these nincompoops thought they could just play like real violinists. You laugh, and all the while you feel a tingle of anxiety along your scalp. It's a scary time to be a developer. That is the truth of it. Whether vibe coders actually start applying for developer roles, or AI automates those roles away, vibe coders are the embodiment of the end of a traditional coding career, at least in the way that many of us have come to know it. It's normal to hate the person trying to take your job. It's actually really quite normal to hate the guy who's trying to take your spot in the orchestra while trying to play his instrument upside down. But I think we know deep down it isn't his fault that he doesn't know the difference between Beethoven and Britney. Being able to code is an amazing opportunity, and at the end of the day, I find it hard to fault someone for wanting to use all of the tools available to them to actualize their ideas. Many developers, including myself, are of the opinion that AI tools may almost entirely take over the job of coding very soon, leaving developers in a place where their primary job is directing AI agents, debugging when things go wrong, and designing higher level systems. This future is hopeful. It's a future of less leet code, a future where junior engineers don't spend their early 20s bogged down by obscure Rust syntax and instead get to learn more senior skills more quickly. But it's also a future where you might end up being a vibe conductor of a vibe orchestra. Don't worry, when that happens, I'll make sure to start posting videos making fun of you too. Subscribe to Alberta Tech Substack and follow them on social media. This is one of the most, I think, beautiful and poignant expressions of the very genuine and very understandable upset and fear that a lot of people in the coding industry and the programming industry might be feeling about vibe coding, about AI in general. Let's hop in and look at what vibe coding is. I will put this in the newsletter so you can read that full article yourself and take your time over it, and make sure to subscribe as well to their Substack. Vibe coding is a relatively new term coined by Andrej Karpathy, one of the co-creators of ChatGPT, in 2025. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the term vibe coding. There's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give into the vibes, embrace exponentials and forget that the code even exists. It's possible because the large language models, e.g. Cursor Composer with Sonnet, are getting too good. I talk to Composer with Super Whisper, so with a microphone. I barely touch the keyboard. I ask for the dumbest things, decrease the padding on the sidebar by half because I'm too lazy to find it. I accept all, always. I don't read the diffs. When I get error messages, I copy and paste them in with no comment. Usually that fixes it. The code grows beyond my comprehension. I'd have to read through it for a while. Sometimes the LLMs cannot fix a bug, so I just work around it and ask for random changes until it goes away. It's not bad for throwaway weekend projects, but it's quite amusing. I'm building a project or web app, but it's not really coding. I just see stuff, say stuff, run stuff, and it mostly works. This is Andrej Karpathy. He co-created ChatGPT. He is a very good programmer at the top of his game, but he plays around with AI to create software. We heard the other day from Boris over at Claude, Boris Cherney. They've just released Claude Code Co-work, a version of Claude Code for the average person. It's cool, it's a great project, but the exciting part is it was built in 1.5 weeks. All code written using Claude Code. So even at top levels, people are using artificial intelligence to build. Now, there are differences between vibe coding and AI-assisted coding. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Those lines are increasingly blurred. People are just talking to their computers. Andrej Karpathy said the new programming language you should be studying, the most important programming language is English. It is natural language and the ability to communicate your ideas, to get something out of your head and explain it in a written form or verbally to a computer so it can understand what you want. It is communication that is becoming increasingly more important. It is not the technical syntax, it is not the programming language, but it is your ability to articulate what it is you want. Very big shift. So we have different forms of artificial intelligence being used in coding. And as I mentioned, the lines are getting blurred. Vibe coding is a hands-off approach, sometimes dangerously allowing permissions, letting your computer go nuts and adjust the file system and completely go for it. It's called a YOLO mode. Bad idea for the most part. Whereas AI-assisted code tends to be for people who are more competent with traditional programming, using artificial intelligence to help autocomplete, come up with functions, for example, that they might not have a full grasp on, and they're just using the AI to assist them. Vibe coding is different. Vibe coding is just saying, hey, this is what I want to build, and then working with the AI step by step. In between, working out the general architecture and using AI to build the pieces step by step. So this is why it is blurred. It depends on what level of control you have and what level of control the AI has. But vibe coding as a term generally means we're giving control to the AI and we are just trusting in it. It is Jesus take the wheel, but with Claude Code instead. The important thing is you can get better at vibe coding. Most people start by saying, hey, I want to make a basic fitness app. Can you do that for me? And the tools that we use will be able to get the basics done, absolutely. But you'll run into problems when you do not architect what it is you want to build early on. If you don't have a clear image of what you want to build, then as you start to build with the vibe coding tool step by step, you're just accreting and blobbing on new functions, new cool things as and when the idea comes to you. So you end up with a bit of a mess. And this tends to happen to most people who are vibe coding for the first time. It will start off fine, and then as they increase the scope, as they increase the complexity, because there was no plan to start with, because there was no actual structure that they were working towards, we end up with a bit of a mess. So that is a problem that is getting more and more ameliorated over time because the tools are getting better and better. The reason why people are getting very upset about this, though, is coding took an awfully long time to learn. It took years to learn to be a computer programmer, especially seniors have been doing this stuff for decades. And this is why over on my Instagram, I have thousands of comments now where people are very upset about what I'm saying. They go on and on. A lot of these people are coders. And again, as we just covered, should we hate vibe coders, there are good reasons to be upset about this. What we're seeing is the democratization of a technology, putting it into the hands of people who have not spent years building this skill. If you have spent years building this skill, if you've gone and got a computer science degree, if you have learned multiple languages and put in the work, this is upsetting. When photography came out, fine artists who were doing oil painting, thought that was trash, and that we should ban photography and it shouldn't be allowed. And then we had to shift from film photography to digital cameras. And again, the film photographer was like, oh no, that doesn't count. That's not real photography. We've had it in music, digital audio workstations, digital music production taken over from traditional composing. And we see this in multiple different industries, and there's always going to be resistance from the people who are in control already, the people who have control of the skill, who have spent all of that time. They're going to very naturally be upset and push back when something comes along and makes that accessible, makes it easy. And they're going to say, this doesn't count, this isn't real, this is not real coding, this is not real photography, this is not real art. That is an extremely natural and human reaction. It's hard to justify as we go further. We're seeing this in multiple fields of artificial intelligence. And there's this tweet from Aaron Francis a couple of days ago, or a week ago, where he pointed out that in 2021, AI can't even autocomplete a line of code. It was trash. So at the time, people were like, oh, AI is never going to be able to help us code. It's never going to be able to program. It's a joke. This was 4 or 5 years ago. 2022, okay, it can write a line of code, sure, but it can't write a whole function. It's stupid, it's crap. 2023, it can't even pass the coding interview. Like, it's not at that level. Sure, it can write a function, do lines, but it can't do a coding interview. 2024, it can't even build an app. 2025, it can't handle complex projects. 2026, betting against it and betting that it's not going to get any better than it is right now is not a good bet. It really is not. Remember, it is the worst it will ever be, what we have right now. The Claude Code we're using today is the worst it will ever be. This is an Ethan Mollick thing. Remember, today's AI is the worst AI you will ever use. The writing will improve, the amount of words the AI can hold in memory will improve, and the costs will drop. This has been true for the last 2 or 3 years, and it will continue. Betting against AI in any area not getting better is not smart. It's been proved again and again that the capabilities can surpass what we assume they can do. So 2026, we are now falling back in coding with saying, oh, sure, it can put together an application, but it can't architect complex projects. And then we see that it can architect complex projects. And then we'll have, oh, it's not secure. Security is an issue, cybersecurity will be a problem a year or two down the line. We'll just keep falling back and falling back. And we're now moving into the argument where people are saying, it still needs a human operator because it doesn't know what to build. It still needs taste. It still needs somebody to work with the client if you are building for someone. It still needs somebody to work out what that product is that we should actually be building in the first place. So what is happening is the skill ceiling is rising up and up and up and up. And that is absolutely what we're seeing in every single industry. If you are a coder, this is a problem. And the sooner you recognize this, the sooner you can start to pivot into something else. But this comes to the question that people keep asking me is, should I learn to code? Yes, you should learn to code. It's a really useful skill and it's fascinating. However, you should not learn to code so that you can become a coder as your job. That is looking risky. That would be a bad move right now. You should learn to code so you can understand how these things work, so you can understand how to architect and what it is you can build. But you should apply that skill in a more entrepreneurial way. So I think there is a disaster awaiting people who are staying in the job of programming, especially for junior people. That's going to get wiped out, and then it's going to be very hard to progress to senior. So I think there's a disaster awaiting us there. And this is not just coding, this is in multiple industries. However, if you use your skills in coding, if you use your skills in AI and you start to build for yourself, you start to create your own products and you start to work out how to release them, how to market them, how to get them out into the world, I think there are untold opportunities right now. It's a really exciting time if you, instead of pushing back against this technology, embrace it and use it yourself to build something you own. So I think there's an opportunity and a disaster here. Entrepreneurs, it's fantastic. The tools are democratized. You can go from an idea in your head to a reality extremely quickly, and it gives you just a massive amount of leverage. Previously, whenever I went to entrepreneurship events or anything to do with people starting businesses, the main block was people did not have the technical support. So I'd always meet people and they'd say, I've got $1 billion idea, $1 billion idea, I'm gonna make so much money. I just need to raise some money to hire developers, or I need to find a CTO, or learn Python, quickly learn to code. This blockage, the technical implementation of that $1 billion idea, made me laugh as if it's worth $1 billion. Why are you not spending a year learning to code? Why are you not hiring someone? Because $1 billion is an awful lot of money. Instead, now you can go from an idea to an MVP, a basic version, in an hour, probably less, using a tool like Lovable. If you're more technical, use Cursor. If you are happy to learn, you can use Claude Code, the best agent out there right now. If you are entrepreneurial and have an idea, you can no longer hide behind the technical excuse. You can no longer say, oh, I've got this great idea, I just don't know how to build it. You can now build it and quickly realize your idea is probably not worth as much as you think. Building, refining, and taking things to market, that's the hard part, actually getting it to people. If you are a coder in a job, this is probably a disaster. It's going to be a rough few years. I recommend combining your skills with something entrepreneurial and teaming up with entrepreneurs, people who are more into marketing, and creating something yourself, because the job, the 9-to-5 job of coding, of programming, is going to be a very rocky path moving forward. Again, this video and the clips we're going to make of it will probably upset a lot of people, but burying your head in the sand about what is coming is not the way. This technology is getting better. It is taking increasingly large numbers of tasks from coders and programmers, and that's not going to slow down. If anything, it's going to speed up. So if you can divert all of that frustration, all of that anger, and build something, break yourself away and create something useful for the world, that is the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself, your community, and everyone around you. Instead of this being a disaster, I hope coding, AI-assisted coding, can become something you can use to build a business, build a product, to build something for yourself that will allow you to smooth over the next few years, which are otherwise going to be very rocky. So I'm going to put all of this in the newsletter. I'll put the presentation and all of these articles, including Should We Hate Vibe Coders? I'll put it in there. I'll put also the Instagram video that everyone's getting upset about. It will all be in the newsletter, which is entirely free. If you just go to aiwithkyle.com, you can subscribe. So it'll be in the newsletter. Fantastic. I'm going to hop over to some questions. This is more of a presentation today. Vibe coding is here to stay, but systems knowledge is vital too. Yeah, it is. I would argue this is just another retreat point. So understanding the systems and the architecture and how we put these things together, really useful. Increasingly, we'll be able to have AIs that can help us with the architecture, that can help us with the systems knowledge as well. The AIs might not be good enough at helping us with that stuff now, does not mean they won't be in 2 or 3 years from now. I still think it's extremely helpful to have, because it allows you to communicate with the AI in a way that allows you to get better results. But I don't think it's necessarily safe as a job moving forward. We have a new role to monitor the vibe coders. Alberta Tech talks about basically a lot of coders will become orchestrators. They will become a manager, somebody who manages the AI agents. Instead of managing a team, it would be managing agents, guiding given direction, checking commits, rather than writing the code yourself. The question is, do we need as many orchestrators as coders? If one orchestrator can work with 10, 20 agents, we need to hire less human beings. And hiring and manpower is generally the main cost in most businesses. And if businesses have the opportunity to hire 10 times less people and to replace the others with AI agents, they're going to take that. The counterpoint is, we'll just hire the same amount of people, give them AI agents and produce 10 times as much. That relies on the economy growing. That relies on demand for what these companies are creating to increase. Because suddenly we have a huge supply of code, a huge supply of product, but not necessarily a concomitant increase in demand, especially when our customers can start to build their own software, especially when other competitors can enter the market really easily by recreating SaaSes in an afternoon. I don't think demand will keep up with supply, shrinking of the market, and problems down the line. Coded for 20 years, haven't for 10. What's the best choice for me? Claude Code. Yeah, Claude Code's fantastic. So because you know a little bit of you coded for 20 years, because you know a lot about code, things like the command line interface won't be scary for you. That is the massive problem for a lot of absolute non-coders when they come to the Claude Code kind of front page, and it tells you, oh, you need to go into the, where was it, getting started. You need to use here a curl command and then create your folders, etc., etc. For anyone who's never touched code, who has never touched the terminal, This kind of thing is absolutely terrifying. If you know this stuff, that's how you install it. Super easy. I personally use it in Cursor. So I use Cursor as my IDE, but I run Claude Code in the terminal. But if you are comfortable with code, then Claude Code is a no-brainer. Things like Lovable are fantastic because they give you a user interface that looks like ChatGPT. So it's a good entry point, but Claude Code is just more powerful. It just has a steeper learning curve. But with 20 years of experience, you'll be fine. For some of us in comp sci who were women, it's the perfect revenge. Take that, C+ elitists. Funnily enough, with C, this video that people are getting upset about, I talk about Linus Torvalds. He's the guy who created Linux. It's created in C, but he recently did a toy project just for fun. I think it was a guitar pedal or some kind of audio modulator. He had to use Python in it, and he wasn't very familiar with Python, so he vibe coded it using anti-gravity by Google. And so his commit on GitHub is basically saying, oh, I've used anti-gravity for this, and I forget the exact term, but he said, has it done this better than I could do by hand? Yes, absolutely. This is blown up, and a lot of coders are upset with Linus Torvalds for using vibe coding. But yeah, he's an OG. He created Linux in C, but even he is playing around with vibe coding, which is fascinating to see. Danny says 2027 will feel like a different planet. It is wild to think that ChatGPT, obviously we've had AI for a longer time, but the public release of ChatGPT was 3 years and 3 months ago, roughly. I struggle to remember the time before. It's a bit like the internet, like trying to remember before the internet is, how do we do anything? Evolution in every sector should consider how it may occur. With coding, we're seeing advances in AI coding really quickly because a lot of the people who are working on AI are coders. They are software developers, they are computer scientists. So this is an area, a domain of their expertise, and they're obviously going to be interested in it. Market forces are there. You can sell coding agents. You can sell AI agents that can do code. So you can make money there as well. There's this idea of the jagged frontier in artificial intelligence where it's good at some things and terrible at others. And it's good at things where we tend to focus our efforts. A lot of labs, especially Anthropic, are focusing on creating AI coding agents as fast as possible. Even if you're not a programmer, it's useful to see what's happening in coding. It gives us an idea of how AI is going to impact other industries later. Think of coding as the canary in the coal mine. It's given us a preview of how AI is going to roll out in other industries. It's just happening fast and first inside of coding because that's what the engineers know. They start to work with healthcare professionals, with legal teams, with accountancy experts. We'll see similar ripples in other industries. Hello, Kyle. I'm now hosting my apps through Vercel, V-E-R-C-E-L, probably Vercel, and I've approached the big boss. Oh, Claude Code. The good thing is if you get stuck using Claude Code or any of these tools is you can ask Claude or you can ask ChatGPT about them. So you can literally go to Claude and say, how do I set up Claude Code? And it will help you. Vercel will be the way to do it. Any thoughts on receiving clients automatically based on expertise turn conversion? Automatic clients is the ideal. It depends on your business. It depends on your acquisition flow. Best way to get clients automatically is advertising, because then you have a steady flow. You optimize for leads, you run A/B tests, and then you just spend money. So that's the easiest way to do it. It just takes money. Claude said to use Claude Code rather than Claude Pro due to my usage. Do you mean Claude Max plan, which is $200 a month? That is the main problem with Claude Code is it is expensive. You will need the $200 a month plan realistically. You can use it on the $20 a month, but you're very quickly going to hit some limits. So it's not cheap. However, compared to the cost of all the time you save or hiring a coder and how much revenue you can generate with Claude Code, $200 a month is, I struggle to think of a better use of $200 a month. It's not cheap, and I know not everyone can afford it, but if you can, and if you utilize it properly and you are building things that can hopefully generate you money, it's a no-brainer. He said, pay by the API. The API is more expensive than the subscription. The $200 a month plan, you get around $1,000 of API usage. Them telling you to use the API seems a bit cheeky. Use the max plan, ideally. Cool, I am going to finish up for today because I'm flying back to the UK and I want to get a last piece of sun before I do, so I'm going to head out for a walk. But thank you so much, everybody. I will not be doing a live because I'm flying Friday. I'm not sure, maybe. Thank you, guys.